My name is Rowan Hale, and for the longest time, I believed marriage was about patience, more patience than any man should reasonably be expected to have. My wife, Ayla, built her life like a spreadsheet, every cell filled, color-coded, locked from editing, schedules, boundaries, and silent rules I didn't know existed until I crossed them. She wasn't cruel in the traditional sense. She never yelled, never struck. She just structured love until it couldn't breathe. We were sitting at the breakfast counter one gray Thursday morning. I was stirring my coffee. She was slicing a grapefruit with the same precision she applied to every part of our life. Without looking up, she said, "Starting today, intimacy once every 3 months. That's all I can manage." She said it like she was revising our grocery list, as if passion was a task too inefficient to maintain. I stared at her, waiting for a twitch in her cheek, a smile, a hint of humor. Nothing. Before I could speak, someone stepped up onto the porch. Marley Quinn, our neighbor. The front door had been cracked open for ventilation. Marley, in her usual denim jacket and morning ponytail, leaned slightly in. "Sorry," she said, blinking. I didn't mean to overhear. Ayla didn't even acknowledge her. Marley looked at me then. "Just me. You don't have to live like that, Rowan," she said softly. "That's not normal. You deserve better." She turned and left. Quiet as she came, Ayla set her grapefruit down and stood up wordlessly, wiping her hands like she'd just handled something unpleasant. The sound of her slippers brushing across the floor felt louder than it should. She left the room without saying a thing. I didn't follow. I didn't ask. I sat there, staring at the spot where Marley had stood, my coffee gone cold in my hand. That night, the silence became its own kind of noise. Ayla moved through the house like a storm with a silent eye. She slammed drawers, flipped off lights, walked past me like I'd wronged her, like I'd invited shame into our house by letting Marley speak. But I didn't feel shame. I felt something I hadn't in a long time seen. The next few days, Ayla didn't speak unless she had to. Questions became instructions. Pick up milk. Don't forget the plumber. The love in her voice had been gone so long, I forgot what it sounded like. But now the indifference carried something else beneath it. Contempt. That it was a week later when I bumped into Marley again. I was grabbing the mail, and she was out tending to her tomato pots. Her hands were dirty, her hair tied back, freckles blooming across her cheekbones. "Hey," she said, glancing up. "You okay?" I nodded, but it felt like a lie leaving my throat. She tilted her head. "You don't deserve the kind of treatment she gives you." That's all I'll say. Just then, the front door slammed behind me. Ayla, she'd heard. Her face twisted, not with sadness or fear but with jealousy. "Of course," she hissed. "Of course, you're soaking that up." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. She stormed inside, the tension in the air clinging to my skin like humidity before a summer thunderstorm. That night, I sat alone on the edge of our bed while she locked herself in the bathroom. I wasn't thinking about Marley's face. I was thinking about her words, not because they tempted me, but because they reminded me I was still human. I came home early on a Wednesday. The office internet was down, and rather than sit around sipping burnt coffee and pretending to be productive, I told my manager I'd work remotely. She didn't ask questions. No one ever does when you look calm on the outside, but inside, I wasn't calm. Our street was unusually quiet, the kind of silence that felt loaded. I stepped through the door, instantly sensing something was off. No TV, no keyboard tapping, no sound of dishes being scrubbed. Just silence. Then I saw them 2 wine glasses on the counter, one half full. Lipstick smudged on the rim. My pulse didn't spike. It slowed, as if my body didn't want to waste the energy. Then I heard voices muffled, but sharp in tone, coming from the patio out back. I moved quietly toward the sliding glass door, careful not to reveal myself. The voices grew clearer. "Stay away from him," Ayla snapped. "You don't know what you're doing. You think kindness makes you right." Marley's voice came soft but steady. "No, I think neglect makes you wrong." My breath caught. I'm not trying to steal him, Marley continued. I just treated him like he matters. And maybe that scares you. Ella let out a bitter laugh. You think a few kind words and do years of marriage. No, Marley said. But they expose what the marriage has been missing. I opened the door. Both women froze. I heard everything. I said, voice level. Marley, thank you for reminding me what decency sounds like. Ella's face darkened. So you're choosing her now. Is that it? I didn't answer, not because I didn't know, but because I finally understood that this wasn't about choosing between two women. It was about choosing between dignity and submission. Marley backed away slowly. I didn't come here to cause problems. I'll go. She disappeared around the side gate. Ayla turned to me, eyes flaring. You've humiliated me, she spat. No, I replied. You did that yourself, and that's when it started. You have no idea what I've sacrificed for this marriage, she snapped. I've carried the burden of your emotional neediness for years. You think you're some perfect husband. I never said that. You punish me for being human, Rowan. You make me feel like I'm never enough. Maybe I'm not warm and fuzzy like that porch puppy next door, but I show up. I manage our life. I keep it clean, structured. I never wanted a manager. I said quietly. I wanted a partner. Someone who wanted to be close. Someone who didn't ration out affection like medicine. She laughed a cold, dismissive sound. So go to her, then. Crawl into her arms if you want so badly to be told you matter. That hit harder than I expected, because there was no sadness in it. Just contempt. I stared at the woman I once held through fevers, listened to cry when her father passed, built a life beside brick by brick. And all I saw now was a wall, inscalable, and willing to bend. I didn't fall in love with this version of you. I said finally, then maybe you never really loved me, she whispered. There was nothing left to argue. I turned, grabbed my jacket, and walked out of the house. Not toward Marley. Not toward revenge. Just toward air, toward clarity. We walked for blocks, past empty porches and flickering street lamps, past everything familiar and suffocating. For the first time in years, my breathing felt full. Heavy, but real. Not shallow and polite. And when my phone buzzed with a message from Ayla, come back. Let's be civil. I didn't even open it. I kept walking because silence had screamed long enough. Marley was sitting on her porch again when I rounded the corner. The sky behind her was streaked with lavender and rust, the sun dipping low like it was quietly slipping away without goodbye. She looked up, startled at first, then softened. You okay? She asked. I didn't lie this time. No, I said. But I'm finally waking up. She didn't press, just patted the spot beside her on the old bench. I sat down. Not close, not far. Just enough space to breathe without having to explain. For a while, we said nothing. The wind rustled through the dying hydrangeas in her front yard. A dog barked somewhere in the distance. My fingers trembled, but my chest felt lighter. Funny thing, I said after a while. You get used to feeling unwanted, like it's normal. Like maybe you're asking too much by simply existing. Marley looked over, her voice a whisper. You don't deserve to feel unwanted in your own home, Rowan. And there it was again. Not desire. Not temptation, humanity. I'm not here to start anything. I added quickly. I'm not looking to. Replace one mess with another. She smiled sadly. Good, because you don't need saving. You need rest. That nearly broke me. We sat in silence again. But this time, it didn't sting. It felt shared, like a blanket left out in the cold, unexpectedly warm. Eventually, I stood up. The house I'd just left loomed down the street like a shadow. I could already imagine Ella pacing, rehearsing some calm, civil argument to draw me back in. Her apology would be efficient, her eyes dry. The same cycle, just wrapped in a new ribbon. I don't know what comes next, I admitted. You don't have to, Marley said. You just need to choose yourself for once. I nodded slowly, and that was it. I didn't walk into Marley's house. I didn't run back to Alice. I just walked forward. No destination. No plan. But with one quiet promise blooming in my chest. I will never again be loyal to a life that starves me. Not out of anger. Not out of pride. But because I remembered I was still alive. And that should be enough.